Hello everyone, this is Kathy from the Daily Marker. How are you today? I am part of Altenew's blog hop for their 2018 March release. I want to show you how I created this art piece using their mega succulent. It's fabulous. I love it so much. So I watercolored this. I want to show you, it's going to be just kind of my process, a quick video. It took like 2 hours to tape. And I'm also going to, the other cacti here, the other succulent, I'm going to show you that. So here's the stamp. It's big. I love it. It's great to frame. It's nice, wide open spaces. This is the paper I'm going to be using. I really like it. And I'm stamping the stamp with some distress ink. I'm going for some no-line coloring. I kind of did the inside, the middle, and the outside different colors, but it really didn't make a difference in the end. I did it on both of these. You can see the outside leaves of this succulent are lighter, but it really didn't make a difference with my experience. So this whole thing, like I said, it was really long, and I'm sick of looking at myself, so I just decided to speed it up. I cut out a lot of my hands going to the water and stuff. And I just wanted to start with a wash on the succulent leaves. I couldn't find my rag. I didn't feel like going looking all around. So I just grabbed this cotton thing, which actually works very nicely. So I'm wetting these petals and then dropping in some color. I'm just kind of playing around, doing a wash, alternating a little bit between the greens, trying to have a darker area and a lighter area, but I'm just really enjoying the process. You might notice that the sun keeps going in and out, and that's why my lighting changes, and it's actually impossible to correct. So I'm just going around the plant, just adding layers of color, very basic watercoloring. I do put like a mayonnaise bit of water on there before I drop the color in. And I'm just trying to leave some white on this part here, the tops of the succulent petals. Are they leaves or petals? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm just moving around the succulent, and then when I finish this has less layers of color, and then I'm going to focus on the whole stamp, and I'll be watercoloring that and putting that on super speed too. Sometimes I feel like it's easier to see what you're doing when it's fast. If it's so slow, it's just boring, and I'm just doing the exact same thing on every one. I'm going back here and just adding some blue spruce. It's actually kind of a gray-green. Just want to add a little bit of darker color to the nooks and crannies. It just enhances the other parts. Now see, I applied just the water there, and then I dropped in some color, and I'm just doing that on everything. But I love these big stamps. They're so fun to do like a cross section or just do the whole thing. And once you stick it in a frame, it gives it much more importance, like I did for the other one, which you'll see. So on this entire thing, I just used distress ink. I like using distress ink because I tend to go too bold and too strong, and it's easier for me to kind of get a wash of color. Now, I've switched over here. Sorry for the light again. I have the entire stamp on this piece of paper. I'm using the same paper, and I'm just starting by putting a wash of lavender on these tops of the leaves or petals. Doing the exact same thing I did in the other one. So it actually takes a little bit of time to edit out my hand so it's not making you dizzy. And then it's kind of fun. I hope you think it's fun just to watch the color being dropped in. So on the top left, you'll see my palette, and I just swipe the Distress ink on there, and I pick up the ink from that. I do have a rectangular palette that I love to use for my Distress inks, but I just took it on my road trip and I still haven't unpacked, and I just wanted to get this going. So I'm using this round one, and it worked. So you can see I dropped the color in the corners, and then I'm trying to preserve the centers to be a little bit lighter. But I'm just use whatever Distress ink you have, let it dry, and then add another layer of color. But I was really happy my sister asked me to paint her one of these, so I guess she liked it. Sometimes when you spend so much time on something, it's like when you're cooking and you're making like a soup and you saute and cut and slice and dice, and then you don't like it because you spent so much time on it, you're just kind of over it. So I'm just watching myself here. I like how the olive mixes with the green. It just makes it very interesting. Now, this would also, I do want to use the stamp with some Tombow watercolor markers. I think this would be really fun. This would be super fabulous to do like a rainbow, like all the outer leaves red or purple, and then whatever the rainbow arrangement is. That'd be super cool. You can get really creative with this. So I also have another card on my blog using another one of the releases from the 2018 March collection of Altenew, and it's hard for me not to add color, and I just let the layering stamp do the work, and it was so fun to do. I definitely want to do some more. So I did a blue flower and a gray flower. I just kind of wanted more of a monochromatic card, and you'll see the details on that on my blog. And Altenew also has a really cool background. It's a full card size background with the holes if you like to do cross stitch or just needlepoint. And I needle pointed like a random pattern on the back for that layered stamping inked flower card. I'm trying to find the words. So anyway, so I'm just finishing this up, and I'm adding some purple. I had a layer of lavender, and then I always just want to go back and add a little bit more intense color in the nooks and crannies. So that's what I'm doing now, and you can see how it just really enhances what you're coloring. That's one of my top 10 coloring tips. Now I'm adding just a little bit of red in some of these areas just because I felt like it just needed like an accent color. So I'm just going around the center, adding some of that, and then I'll be adding to these petal leaves of the succulent. So it's just kind of a process. And you could heat set your paper and then add another layer of color, or if it's damp. The great thing about this paper is it can take a lot of water, so you can just keep on going. And I really didn't have any of my watercoloring bleed from one area to the next. So I need to add a little bit of that hint of red to each one of these petals. So I'm just putting some in the corners, and then I'm just bringing water just to wash it out and bring that color down. Now I needed a little bit more intense color here. And then I'm going to be adding actually some green to these turquoise leaves because I felt like they were just a little bit too different from the rest of the cactus. I keep saying cactus, the succulent. Okay, so I'm just finishing that up, dropping in more of that color, just doing the exact same thing as I was earlier. And you can see it's kind of funkadelic here. That's why it's good to walk away, because if I walked away, maybe I would have liked this more and I could have stopped. But I just decided to. Part of it is I just love the process of coloring. So I'm adding some green and a little bit more of that spruce in the nooks and crannies here. And then I'll be adding green to like these turquoisey areas. Just a little bit more intense color in those corners. And like I mentioned, it's always good to let it dry and then come back with a little bit more intense color and then just use water to blend it and bring that color back down. And when this is all dry and finished, I'm going to take a Sharpie marker and just add just like to the little nooks and crannies. I'm not going to trace over the whole thing because the whole idea of this was no line coloring. So just in these little cracks is where I'm adding the Sharpie. Usually I would use a 0.05, but because of this paper is so textured, I need to use just the regular fine tip Sharpie marker. And just this little bit makes such a difference. So here's my 3 projects that I have on my blog, and the supplies will be linked below. So hopefully you'll click over there. It's thedailymarker.com. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.